Hey guys, I'm Jim, KN4YCD, and you're watching FEP Labs Radio. Welcome. Hey, today I want to talk about the Morserino-32. That's this guy over here. This is a Morse code trainer, and you can use it as a keyer. You can use it as multiple different ways to practice with. So let's get at it and take a look at it. Stay tuned. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the Morserino-32 today. I got this from the website that Mr. Willie Crammel runs, and I'll post a link in the description below. He's OE1WK1, and he's in Austria. I got this a couple weeks ago. I'm wanting to learn Morse code. You guys know, if you've seen the other video where I talked about my Morse key that I bought, this is a trainer device, and it will let me use the Morse key with my it'll let me use my Morse key with this. I'm going to learn to speak English one day, I promise. So not much for unboxing, so I'm just going to open this up and show you what's in it. I've already taken the liberty of working on it. It didn't come in this hot mess. So it comes with this was mine, that's an adapter. It came with the Wi-Fi module here. This does the LoRa, I don't know how to say that. It also is Wi-Fi, so you can connect this to your network, and it has some network functionality you can do with it as well. The antenna, a case that you have to put together, and then the board itself. So the board is partially put together when you get it. It is not all the way. So as you can see on here, there's some surface mount components on this board. Those were already installed when I bought it. It came with the surface mount components already put on there, so I did not have to do that. I don't have the equipment to do surface mount. I've never tried it. I'd probably totally screw it up. But then the rest of it came as a kit. So the various potentiometers, the speaker, the audio in and out jacks, all that I had to put on the board myself. This module here is a Heltec module, and this has the, let me get up here close where you can see it. That is the Wi-Fi antenna and the LoRa antenna, and then it has the LCD screen where you can see what you're doing. It will decode what you're keying. It will decode over the air. It will decode over the internet. I have not played with the internet functionality yet. And then the board, you know, like I said, it's just some fairly straightforward soldering of what you need to put on yourself. So on the board, you see two sets of a couple wires here, three wires. This is our antenna wire for hooking up our external antenna, which once this is in the case, that'll be mounted on top of the case. And I'm going to get it put together off camera and then show you what the whole thing looks like in the case. And that uses a standard SMA connector. This also has power, and I can't think of the name of this connector. You can actually put a 3.7 volt LiPo in this. There's enough room in the case for a small LiPo underneath the board, and you could run it off of that and recharge it off of USB. So you could use this completely free of a power supply in the field if you wanted to. It has adjustable frequency for what frequency your code is at. It will decode on receive, and it will decode on transmit. It has multiple modes built into it, and we'll go through those when I got it in the case, and I'll come back and show you those. But I can use it as a practice device. I hook up my key to it. I can sit here and practice freehand code, like I started practicing CQ over and over. And it's great because I can sit here and look at the screen while I'm keying, and all I'm trying to do is type CQ, CQ, CQ over and over, and it's decoding what it thinks I'm trying to transmit. The speed is adjustable. So if you're like me and you barely can get a C out that anyone can understand, you can set it fairly slow. And if you're some kind of witch, you can set this thing up fairly high, like north of 30 words a minute, which to me is just insane. And it was about 30 minutes to put everything together. Honestly, it was not complicated to put it together. Mr. Crammell provides outstanding instructions. He's got those listed on GitHub, along with the code he uses for this. All of that came pre-programmed in EEPROM. I didn't have to do any coding, but it's all open source, so you can modify it to your heart's content. I'm not much of a programmer anymore, so I don't intend to do that. Anyway, so that's the basic device. I'm going to put this in the case, and then we'll be back, and I'll show it to you in the case. I'm going to label all the inputs and outputs so we know what those are. And I'll hook up my JK38 key to it, and we'll give it a quick test, and you guys can be amazed at how terrible I send CQ over and over. So just stick with me. I'll be right back. I'm also going to roll in a image of the board layout and show you what those jacks are on the screen. So we'll be back in just a second with that. Okay, so here's an image of the Morserino put together. This is not my Morserino. We'll come back to mine in a moment for a demo. But I wanted to go through the different controls that were available on the Morserino. So starting in the top left corner and going around numerically clockwise, number 1 is to hook up your transmitter or receiver, and you can key through this device to your transmitter. So I could hook this up to my radio. I have not attempted that until I can say something really awesome in CW. I'm not going to key on the air. Number 2 is an audio input for a decoder. You can connect the audio output of a receiver to the number 2 connector, and it will decode what it hears from the radio. And it gives you wiring diagrams for how all this stuff is supposed to be wired up on any of these connectors you have to put together. Number 3 adjusts our audio input level. Number 4 is for headphones, so you can sit on your couch while your wife is watching home improvement shows and practice your CW without disturbing her. Number 5 is the power switch. Can't really see that too well in the picture. It's on the side, is where it is. And if you look at the picture closely, there are little icons etched into the top plastic cover. So number 6 is the SMA female connector. That's what I showed you dangling loose. Once the case is on, then that goes through the top cover of the case and we'll connect the antenna there. Number 7 is a multi-function switch that they call red. And so this will wake up the device if it's in sleep mode. If it's running and performing one of its functions, you can short press the button and it'll let you adjust different settings on it with the in conjunction with the rotary control, which is number 8 right next to it there to the left. That's a rotary encoder, and between those 2 buttons, that lets you pretty much control the functionality of the Morserino. Number 9 is touch paddles. So these are capacitive touch paddles that come with the device. So you actually don't need anything to start using this to either send or practice your code. I played with the touch paddles, not a fan of those. As I don't really know what I'm doing with CW anyway, dealing with touch paddles, and you can configure how they operate. I just would rather stick with a straight key at this point because it's doing what I need it to do, which is go up and go down, and that's all. And you don't have to leave those on there. You can take those out and not even put them on the board. They just go in those 2 little sockets there at number 9. Number 10 is 3.5 millimeter jack. To connect an external paddle is what number 10 is for. That's where I'm going to plug my paddle in. And I have a 1/4 inch jack on my paddle, on my key, because that's what's on my ICOM, a 1/4 inch female. But you can use an adapter. And again, it gives you the diagram for tip and ring and sleeve and how those need to be wired up to work properly. And you can set the kind of paddle that you're using within the Morserino itself. Since I'm using a straight key, I have it set for a straight key. It has a serial interface at number 11. That's not wired up in this picture. You can wire it up, for example, with a GPS receiver module, which is not currently supported by the software, but they list that as an example. So I don't know exactly what you do with that. Number 12 is a reset button to do a hard reset of the Heltec module, which they say is not normally needed for anything. Number 13 is a micro USB connector. So this device will run off of straight USB power. Keep in mind that it also has a connection for a 3.7 LiPo underneath it. So you don't have to use the LiPo. I didn't have any. I didn't feel like buying one off of Amazon and waiting a week to get it. So I just plug in a USB power supply, either straight to my computer or with a external USB battery brick. Works just fine. And then number 14 is a programming button. Once again, if you want to change or modify anything with the Heltec module programming, normally they're saying that that's not ever needed. So that's the basic layout of all the functions on the board. And I wanted to show you that. We'll be right back, and I have mine put together, and we can take a quick look at it, and I'll hook up my key and walk through some of the functions. So I've got everything put together now. The little case is on. There are no sides to the case. It's open on the side, but it protects the electronics from getting smashed or anything like that. This is running on just a standard USB battery pack. This happens to be an FEP Labs radio battery pack. Very fancy. And then, of course, you can see on the device itself. Let me see if I can get that up on the camera where you can actually see it. So we have the icons for what everything is. This is where I'm going to put this device out to my radio to use this as my keyer for the radio. This is where I can take the audio out of my radio and put it into the Morserino for it to decode. Headphones for my personal listening. These are two of the adjustments that I mentioned earlier. Right up there is the hard on-off switch. This goes into what he calls a deep sleep mode. You know, this powers everything off. This breaks the connection, so it won't sit there and silently slurp battery while it's on. Here's our control buttons here. This is basically a combination of single pushes, multi pushes, and long pushes kind of deal. And then this is a rotary encoder knob, and where I have it set right now is changing the various functions of the device itself. I think you can kind of see that on the screen fairly well. So we're going to leave it set to CW decoder. This is where my capacitive paddles would go, and these are what they look like. They just snap down there in that slot right there, and then you could use these. There's obviously two of them, and you could use those as your key. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stick with straight key for quite a while. All right, and then over here on the end is where we're going to plug in our key to use it with the Morserino. And so the basic functions, and I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail about all the functions. You should read about it if you're interested in buying one. And I recommend this. If you're learning code, I think this is going to be the best way for me to learn code. So it has a CW decoder that's straight up, I'm banging key and it's telling me what it's hearing. Or I could get my input from a radio or a recording, an audio recording off the computer, or live CW out of my radio into it if I want to do it that way. I'm going to be using it with my key. It has several different wireless modes that you can use. I haven't really played with those because that's not really what I bought it for, but it does do Wi-Fi, and it has a built-in computer interface, a web interface, so you can change some of the settings over your network, over your Wi-Fi network. It has a trainer mode. The straight-up cook trainer methodology, which is very common today in learning Morse code. I don't know anything about the cook method yet. I'll probably play with that at some point. It has an echo trainer. It sends you the code, and you have to key back what you hear. and it's random letters or call signs or pro signs, however you set that up, but it plays them and then you have to key it back to the device. Then it has a CW generator where it will just straight up send you code for you to practice. And then, of course, the CW keyer mode where you're using it as a pass-through keyer to a radio. Obviously, deep sleep mode, and then setting up the Wi-Fi functionality, and then back to CW decoder. So that's basically the device. I'll probably end up putting labels on here. I'm very old school. I need a label to tell me things. I don't like pictures because I won't remember what the difference is between the music icon and the headphone icon down the road, because I see music and that must mean where my headphones go. So I'll probably end up putting labels probably on the bottom of the device just so they're not covering it up. And other than that, it's a pretty neat little gadget. It has a lot of functionality that I have not figured out yet. For example, you should be able to send code over the network to another device to receive it. That's buried in the documentation. I have not played with that to see how that would work, and that might be something for a follow-up video in a little while. But right now, I'm just using it straight up with my key. So I have my J38 key here. I think I called this a JK38 earlier. This is my World War II era straight key. And I did a video on that, a couple weeks ago. So what I'm going to do is plug this key in right now. And then you can laugh at my pitiful attempts to send Morse code. Now, let me pull this back and zoom us back in. And hopefully that will be reasonably legible on camera. It's awful bright. I can probably adjust that somewhere, but we're not gonna fool with that. I'm just gonna get it where you can kind of see it. All right. So without remembering my CQ, because I have not touched this in about 2 weeks now, let's see what I can get it to do. Yeah, apparently I don't remember CQ. But you get the idea. I have no idea what I'm saying. I practiced for a few minutes, and then I had something else to do. But it will take my code and just show me straight up what it's receiving. And as I said, you can hook this up to your radio, to the audio output on your radio up here, and this will decode what it's hearing that way. You could hook this to your computer and play training recordings off of your computer. So if you're taking a CW class online, for example, with Long Island CW Club or something like that, you could play all that through this. And again, I can use this and transmit into my radio with it as well. So there's a lot of functionality in this. This is a really neat device. The closest thing I've found to this has been some MFJ trainers that run about $150 to $180, a little more, a little less maybe. This was $85 US. I believe it was 50 euros. So whatever that translates to in American money, I think it was about $85. Tax, title, and tag to the door. And so that's my plan. I want to get in a CW class, probably online, but I can use this to practice. So for example, at lunch at work, I usually go sit in my truck and read a book or watch a video or something. I can sit out there in my truck and spend an hour a day just practicing my CW over and over. And, if you do something like print off a chart or whatever, where you've got the code in front of you, you can practice, and the Morserino judges you. See, I can't even send SOS. Nope. That's a big pile of no right there. Still a big pile of no. And that's my timing. So the timing, the way this is showing right now, is expecting this at 6 words per minute, and I can adjust that timing value. There we go. Volume up and down. I think I have to bounce into the menu to change the timing. So I have it set for 6 words a minute. So for me, 6 words a minute is probably going to be fine. Obviously, I'm very, very, very shaky at that. But if you're better than 6 words a minute, you could use this to challenge yourself and get up to speed. And again, it's got multiple functions. When it's doing the echo back for you, the trainer modes, it will, you can tell it to send you random call signs. So it makes up call signs and sends them. You can load a file of call signs to the device. It will do pro signs. Same kind of deal. You can load them yourself, or you can use the ones built into it. On pro signs, I don't know why you'd load them in, because it's the same either way. Or just random characters or random word blocks. So you can train multiple ways on this device, and it's really a very clever device, and I'm really pleased that I got it. And it was a fun little kit to put together. I'm not a huge kit builder, but this was good. So anyway, guys, give me a like if you would. Share this video with your friends. Subscribe. Make sure you ring that bell, and that way you'll get notified when I put out a video, and that helps the YouTube machine figure out what you want to see, and it'll let you know whenever other ham-related content comes out. All right, guys, that's it. 73.